The beauty of humans is that repeatedly we show ourselves determined to wrestle with the universe around us until it surrenders its secrets. Like peeling an onion, there always seems to be more or another level. It is a quest to examine ourselves and others until we have the answer. Then, aware what we have touched upon, we organize and store our discoveries safely and dive back into the waters to bring more things into the light. For me, this tenacious curiosity is the best characteristic humans can have. Early humans looked up at the night sky the way people look down at their phones today. There were few other entertainments, and there were a lot of questions. By looking up at the night sky, whole mythologies were created. The entire system may be designed as the science of cause and effect in general terms. As we see them now, up in heaven are the same familiar planets and stars as the first parent of the human race gazed upon. They are objects that will remain unpolluted from the hand of mankind. They are the only objects that all nations have witnessed and admired. They were there at our birth, and they'll see our funeral. The stars will hold silent watch over our earthly tomb. The ancients viewed astrology as a combination of two sciences, astronomy and correspondence. Think of these two as being related as hand and glove. The former dealt with the sun, the moon, planets, and stars, and confined themselves to distance, size, and motion. The latter dealt with the spiritual and physical influences of the same bodies had upon the ancients, directing all their attention to agriculture, and gave names to the stars derived from their occupation. Modern humans have lost this connection to the stars. Not only do we have more diversions, but it's also the case that most people don't look up at the night sky anymore. Why? We are just too busy with modern entertainment. Though, it could be because that for the majority of people, there is not enough to see. The night lighting we have grown fond of creates light pollution of our night sky. The Bortle scale is a 9-level numeric scale that measures the night sky brightness of a particular location. It quantifies the astrological observability of celestial objects and the interference caused by light pollution. If you look up at the night sky and can't see anything, you're at a Bortle 9. If you look up at the night sky and can see only a few major constellations, such as the Big Dipper, you are at a Bortle 7. This is where most of us are today. It's no wonder that the stars have lost their ability to inspire most of the current population. Today, Australia is often considered the best place to travel to for dark night skies, necessary for astrotourism. When I observed a Bortle 1, the excellent rating for a dark night sky, it was on the Crimean Peninsula. This night, the sky was truly magical. Here are the characteristics of a Bortle 1 night sky. The zodiacal light is visible and colorful. The counterglow is visible. The zodiacal band is visible. Air glow is readily visible. The Scorpion and Sagittarius regions of the Milky Way cast obvious shadows. Many constellations, particularly fainter ones, are barely recognizable amid the large number of stars. M33 is a direct vision naked eye object. Limiting magnitude with the 12.5-inch reflector is 17.5 with effort. Venus and Jupiter affect dark adaptation. For the ancients, these nightly visitors burn brightly. To see the Milky Way in all its grandeur is genuinely something memorable. Humans became very good at reading these stars. Star knowledge existed previous to the Sumerian and Egyptian cultures. What knowledge we do have comes from their texts. Directions for Knowing All Things Dark is an ancient Egyptian mathematical textbook known as the Rhind Papyrus. The original document was written almost 3,500 years ago by Amos, whose name means moonborn. It is a copy of a then 1,000-year-old text that contained mathematical knowledge of the priesthood. It was only by mathematical prowess that a scribe could consider himself a master. In this regard, the Egyptians followed in the footsteps of the Sumerians. The latter believed that only by mastering mathematics could one consider them selves master of Nam Lu Ulu for the condition of being human. Mathematics was at the very heart of both Sumerian and Egyptian curricula. The ancient Egyptians depended on the annual flooding of the Nile for their survival. From the Rhind papyrus, we know that the river scribes monitored this most important aspect of the kingdom. They would read the river's depth gauges and then report the water level. Astronomer priests kept calendars to prepare citizens for the rising of the dog star Sirius. This was the moment when Sirius's position to Earth was far enough away from the sun so that it could be seen again. When it was seen, it barked its warning. That is, it was the last day of preparation for dark repair and canal dredging. This remarkable correspondence led Egyptians to compare the star's action to that of an animal who, by his barking, gives notice of danger. He called this star the dog, the barker, Sirius. In this way they named the stars. The crab, those where the sun arrived at the tropic, retreated by a slow retrograde motion like the crab. The wild goat, Capricorn, where the sun, having reached the highest point in his annual tract, rests at the summit and imitates the goat who delights in climbing the summit of rocks. They named stars of the balance, Libra, those where the days and nights, being equal, seemed in equilibrium, like that of weight measurement instruments. The scorpion stars were those where the winds come burning like venom of the scorpion. The bull spreads over the earth in the spring and restores the vegetation and plenty. The lamb, or ram, delivers the skies from the evil powers of winter. He restores the empire of goodness, that being of summer, the joyful season. Aquarius, the water-bearer, brings the rains. Similarly, he called the rings and traced the orbits of the stars and planets. Such was the general mode of naming all the stars and planets. Groups or individuals took them according to their relation with animal husbandry and terrestrial objects. Also, according to analogies each nation found between them and its particular soil and climate objects. The history of all languages is nearly the same. It was then, on the borders of the Upper Nile, among a magnificent race of people, that a system of the worship of stars was organized, considered in relation to the productions of earth and the work done in agriculture. This was some of the first worship, characterized by their adoration from their natural attributes proceeding from the human mind. In the beginning, this original system was understood by everyone. Agriculture soon became the sole employment of a learned class of experts, the first priesthood. These men were exempt from common labor, and society provided for their service on account of their service. They became well acquainted with the significant phenomena of nature. They even learned to penetrate the secret of many of her operations. They became the culture experts, the intellectual few who could read the movement of the elements and interpret their relationship in nature. In addition to this timekeeping aspect, this early astro-religion represented God as spirit, non-matter, and the originating source. The early priests saw things move in cycles. Thus, they believed that earthly life was not the final stage, but one of the movements within a more extensive, repeating cycle that eventually reunites with Source. Soon these ancient astrologers assigned to each planet a color, an animal, a tree, metal, fruit, a plant, and formed from them a figure or representation of a purpose of a good movement, a lucky day, or some other favorable aspect. They conceived magic ceremonies to introduce figures or idols to influence the superior beings after which they were modeled. In this performance of worship, they were obliged to dress up in the proper color. In this way, these early astrologer priests, by their practice, introduced idolatry. They were desirous of being regarded as dispensers of the favors from heaven. They prayed to the scorpion not to pour out his venom upon nature, and they got themselves into a labyrinth of well-connected absurdities. Over time, when the calendar was regulated, the majority of people no longer needed to observe the heavens. They lost sight of the original meaning of these expressions. The original allegories in everyday use became fatal obstacles to understanding. Habituated to associate symbols of ideas with their archetypes, they gradually believed that these were gods among them and could pray to them to continue to do their work. The early priesthood succeeded in persuading the people that the rain and other blessings of the seasons were at their disposal. The art of agriculture was exercised by astrology rules. The priests made talisman or charms to drive away locusts, flies, etc. The priests of Egypt, Persia, and India pretended to bind their gods to idols and to make them come from heaven at their pleasure. They threatened the sun and moon if they were disobedient. The method used to communicate this knowledge was laborious oral instruction. They transmitted it only to their relations and friends. It followed, therefore, that all science and teaching were confined to a few families who viewed it as an exclusive privilege, and they assumed the professional distinction.